We made a short video of 35 minutes that kind of encompasses and summarizes everything that Part 108 is proposed to be. Important, this is a proposal. So if you haven't watched it, don't leave now. You'll be able to go and watch it on the channel when you're done here with this live in an hour. But it's, as you may have seen, it's complex. It's complex. Are we good? Am I good? No sound, audio. Okay, all right. Yeah. So what else was I saying? Well, yeah, so we have been working. The next step for us now is to work on a comment video. There's a lot of things in there that could be better. Let's put it this way. That could be more geared towards you, our viewers. I know our viewers are not very well represented in this NPRM. Primarily because Part 108 right now is proposed to be an autonomous flight rule, which a lot of you don't do. Actually, I would say all of you don't do. So it needs to be more geared towards that. So we're working on a solution to make that happen. I think we got really good leadway done today. I met with several groups, interest groups, let's put it this way, today, from recreational to law enforcement to DSPs, and trying to make sure that we have a united front, a united voice, which I think is important, especially with this. And yeah, that's what we're going to be pushing on. So let me say hi to a couple of people and then we can get into it. Again, if you have questions, especially Part 108 questions, make sure you leave them in here. If you understand, don't understand, if you are wondering how this is going to work out for you, maybe you have a specific use case, maybe you're a current 107 waiver holder with a beyond visual line of sight waiver. That's the folks that are the most at risk at the moment because there is no, what you call it, there is no provision for waivers anymore in the new proposed rule. Part 107 waivers for beyond visual line of sight would go away and be only in Part 108. So yeah, okay. Let's go. Let's say hi to a bunch of folks. I'm trying to think of what else to say, but I don't want to keep holding. Okay, we have Steve Mendick is here. We have Curtis Warren, West Texas Droning, Thorol Inspired, Eric Rushnider, Alexander Blickenship, Will McGill, an OK Boomer, JJ Burkhart. We have Danny Moosbrugger, Eye in the Sky Imaging. We have Lawrence Talbert, Bluegrass UAS, Engineer Drone Services, Gus 450R, Dave DeVore. All of these names are familiar. Thank you all for coming back every week, by the way. We appreciate that. Jillian B., our own Jillian from the community, who is a number 3 fan. Jillian, I thought you were number 1 fan, but the disappointment. Burn. Mark Saxon. We have Travis Cheney. We have Rick Hone. Daniel Dye. We have BS. There's a lot of that. Hey, I've been reading regulation all day. After Res Media, Flying Brian, Drone Eagle, James Bareka, Stinker 337, Just Johnny 2012, Cloud Camper, Edward James, Flying Brian, FPV Zone, Matthew Johnson, DJI Hobby Guy, a lot of you folks, David Cates, who else am I missing? Steve A is here, Austin Flyer, we have Don M, Rolf Bruce, Vegas Digital Eye, did I say that wrong? Digital Eye for You, Cloud Camper, Mountain Man. All right, Dupree Drone Zone. I see a lot of repeats now. Sorry if I'm missing anybody. Super Dave is here. Anyways, all right. Well, we are in. So let's get started with the first questions, I guess. Flying Brian says, we have Willem, says he's from Holland. Welcome, welcome. It's pretty late for you over there. What, 9 hours? Ahead of me, so that would be midnight, 11, midnight, 1 a.m., something like that, close to it. Very cool. Thanks for being here. So, Flying Brian says, we have talked a lot about the impending DJI ban, yes. But what is going on with the DJI lawsuit against the DoD? There's been crickets on that. We have not heard anything regarding the current lawsuit that DJI has against the DoD. As you may expect, a lawsuit against the government is going to take a lot of time. And so it's been, a year maybe since they submitted that. So I don't know. Things don't move very, very fast with the government. 1 a.m. says Willem. Cool. Well, again, thanks for being here. BS says, when I use my Loft app to fly under Part 107, it gives me a warning that my AGL clearance doesn't include the added AGL over buildings. I thought Part 107 gave you the added height. That's a good question. So this is something that's, I think, that is missing from education out there. We teach it to our students because we know about it, but it's not something that's very obvious because it's not in the actual regulation. It's something that is added to the approval that you receive from the FAA. So yes, your approval for Lance is limited to AGL heights. You cannot add the height of another building. Now you might be thinking of 107.51, which has this 400 rule. If you're within 400 feet of an object, of a man-made obstacle, then you can be 400 feet above it on top, up to 400 feet. That only applies in airspace that does not require authorization. And so as such, you cannot add 400 feet on top of a building inside of controlled airspace. So yeah, when you get those, make sure you stay 400 feet above the ground, period. No other added height. Drone Eagle says, trying to get off to come to UAV Expo in a couple of weeks. Awesome, which depends on workload. I learned that the Expo last week. Could a landing pad be available if I can book by the 20th? If we have some left, then I would say yes. The problem is that we're getting limited in landing pads. But we ordered more. It's a long story, but we should be getting some. So if we ran out, we'll have more. But yes, absolutely, Don. Not Don, Drone Eagle. Did I say Don Eagle? Drone Eagle.
We missed a couple comments. Can you scroll up to the very first one from Jason today? Steve.
Oh yeah, missed a bunch. Oh, that's because Tom hijacked the chat. Psh.
We had audio issue, but it's fixed.
Okay. Steve, I'm sorry. I missed a couple comments. So if you left one earlier, I will get back to those. Steve says, is there a way to get street level maps with airspace zoned marked? Would be helpful for flight planning from home. Street level map. Yeah, you can do that with the UAS facility map, Steve. So if you go to the UAS facility map, I think Jason is going to be able to put a link. Then you'll be able to see that. You'll be able to see the streets, change the background, the overlay of the map, and then do whatever you want with it. Yep. You can even type in an address right there, and then it's going to take you there directly. JJ Burkhart says, can't wait to hear about Part 108. Yep. If you watch the video, I think the video explains a lot of what it is. We try to simplify it as much as we could. It's not easy. 35 minutes was as quickly as I could do it with words, and then our team did a great job at putting together this whole thing with a lot of text and a lot of visuals to make it less boring. So yep, I haven't seen anything else like it out there, so it's we're pretty proud of it. Travis says, any review coming for the Sky Rover X1 coming in the near future? Yeah, we have one. We haven't had a chance to fly it because Part 108 came, and literally this is all that we've done. I put all my other projects on hold for now to get this thing under control, because we only have 2 months to submit comments. Less now. It's been already 13 days since it came out, so almost 2 weeks since it came out, and we have to get some stuff to you guys so that you have time to submit your comments. So we're pushing hard to get a video out by the end of the month, so you have enough time to digest and then create your own comments and submit it. That will give you about a month to submit your own comments. So Daniel says, for an area right outside of controlled airspace, but still within the zero grid, are you allowed to fly there under Part 107 without a waiver further coordination? An area, if you're, I'm confused. maybe I understand what you're saying. So are you right at the edge of the class D airspace, let's say, and there is a square there, and then it's a zero grid square, but you're outside of the actual ring? Is that what you're saying? If that's what you're saying, then you don't need approval there. It's only when you're inside of that airspace ring. I think that's what you're saying. They're pretty rare to have a zero grid on the outside. Typically, these are 400-foot grid. That's why I'm asking, just to make sure. But typically, the zero grid are going to be close to the airport, so you would always be in controlled airspace. So you would always need to get approval. I hope this makes sense. But let me know. I'll do a follow-up. BS says, I have a Mini 4 Pro with both regular and plus battery and my Part 107. Can I fly my drone recreationally with the regular battery and no remote ID after I have my Part 107? Drone is registered. So here's the kicker. Technically, as soon as the drone is registered, then it needs to have remote ID. And because you registered it under Part 107 doesn't really matter, because the registration technically is a Part 48 registration, not a Part 107 registration. So the short answer is yes, you would need to have remote ID because the drone is technically registered. Sorry about that. That's really an FAA thing it's a Congress thing, forcing the FAA to do something. Flying Brian says, as a recreational pilot, you must have your FAA number on your drone. As a Part 107 pilot, you must have the registration number on the drone. Do you need both numbers on drone to fly under both? So technically, they're both called registration numbers. I know under recreational rule, you only have one, but technically it's not a pilot registration. It's just a registration number for the aircraft. You're just allowed to use the same number for all of your aircraft recreationally. With that said, if that drone is registered under Part 107, because of what I just said to the previous question, you technically don't need to have a second registration for recreational. So just one registration, put the Part 107 one on there, you're good to go. Really, the way that the regulation is written for registration, it's really interesting, because it just says what I just said, which is essentially all drones under 107 must have a different registration number. Each must have a registration, and then under Part 107 you can just register and then you reuse that number for all of your drones. So it's kind of like if you had a license plate and you made copy of it, you'd still have a license plate, you just make copies of it for your recreational drones, and then all your commercial vehicles would have to have their own license plate, if that makes sense. Please
Isn't that chocolate mousse left that you made last night?
There is no more chocolate mousse left.
Tell people what kind of chocolate mousse you made.
The one with chocolate in it, it wasn't that good.
No?
No, the cocoa powder that I get for it was not good.
5 points to whoever can guess the secret ingredient in chocolate mousse.
You can't. You will never be able to guess. Okay. Dupree Drone Zone says, please explain the training restrictions near Luke Air Force Base. Yeah, there is an SFR, a special flight rule area in that section. So if you go on Google and you type Luke Air Force Base UAS flights, something like that, it will come up with a page. There's a page where you can contact Luke Air Force Base to get approval to fly there. It highlights all the requirements, let's put it this way, on that. But it's called a special flight rule area. There is a few of them across the country for a variety of reasons. But Luke is one of them. But there are restrictions to fly drones there. Edward James says, I work for a county here in PA, Pennsylvania, and we just did a dragon boat race. That's cool. I recorded it for the website and Facebook page. Am I okay to share? I'm assuming you're Part 107 certified, in which case, yes, you would be okay to share. Technically, that kind of footage would require Part 107 since you did it for the county. But yeah. Is there a Discord for Pilot Institute? Well, we have Ben. He's always a Discord.
We have community.
But we have better than Discord, actually. Yes, we have community. Our community page is it's not based on Discord. I think it's actually better than that. but it's more organized. It looks better. So yeah, we use a company called Circle for that, and you can access it for free if you are a student in one of our courses, even one of our free courses. So that's where you can Discord with other people or Cord. The Handy Ham. Ooh, I almost said the Handy Band, but the Handy Ham. How does Part 108 affect recreational pilots? Good question. So, let me see if I can make it as simple as possible. Part 108 is a set of rules to fly beyond visual line of sight. As currently proposed, it is a set of rules to fly autonomous drones beyond visual line of sight. There is no language in there that allows for manual flying, non-autonomous flying, I'm going to call it. So there are a lot of requirements in order to fly a drone beyond visual line of sight autonomously, and they're all highlighted in this document. There is an avenue for recreational pilots to fly these drones beyond visual line of sight, but I think where the FAA missed the mark is the fact that recreational pilots don't fly drones autonomously. They fly drones by hand because that's the fun in the whole thing. It's like saying, I'm going to go get an RC car and then put it on autopilot and just watch it do donuts around a racetrack. It's kind of the same thing. So recreational pilots and a lot of Part 107 pilots fly their drones manually because that's where the skill is at, the fun is at, that's where the creativity is at. And so at the moment, recreational, Part 107, same thing. There is no avenue to fly a drone beyond visual line of sight under Part 108 for either of these folks. So that's how it would affect you. Now, as far as changing the rules, the current rules for flying recreationally, it does not change that. It does not change the fact that you need to have a visual observer. I know we surprisingly have received that question a lot, and I never thought, really didn't think about that before, but a few people have asked us, am I still going to be able to fly my drone, my FPV drone, under Part 107 or under the recreational rules after this Part 108 thing comes out? And the answer is yes. It does not change the fact that you need to have a visual observer, because that is considered, when you have a visual observer with you, that is considered within visual line of sight. That's what that visual observer does for you. You are not allowed under the recreational rules to fly beyond visual line of sight. That's like the third bullet in 44807. So, but that doesn't change with Part 108. So all it does, Part 108 will allow you to fly beyond visual line of sight if you fill out a lot of paperwork autonomously only. So part of our comment at the moment is to try to change that, because I don't believe it's a good way to do it. But yeah. Next, Drone Ranger says, I live in deep rural Southeast Alaska. Nice. I want to get my commercial drone license, but can't travel because I have MS, no money, live on a remote island. Is there any way to work with the FAA? To do what? A Drone Ranger? Did he ask a question earlier? I don't... What would you want to work with the FAA? I guess to take the test is what you're asking? I'm not sure. What are you trying to do with the FAA is my question. Shiger Tark says, is there a direct contact I can reach for questions about flying over crowds? I have a county dirt bike track near an airport that I would like to film promotional and race videos. So flying over a crowd is going to be limited to either having a waiver or having a categorized drone. So there's not really anybody to talk to per se about this. We made a video recently, maybe 6 months to a year ago, talking about the process to get a waiver to fly over people if you have a drone that's under 400 grams. Not 250, 400 grams is the limit there. It is possible, it's not impossible. And then because you're near an airport, you may have to get, obviously, airspace approval if that's the case. But yeah. There's always UAS help at faa.gov. UAS help at faa.gov. They're a great resource, great folks that work there. They're very knowledgeable. So I would email them if you need additional information. They'll be able to guide you on that. Any suggested drone stabilization, color video editing software? I mean, most editing software these days will do stabilization. We use Final Cut, we use Premiere. So pick your poison, one of these two. And but there's a lot of them that do that. Now, if you want to do specific stabilization, I'm sure there are software that do just that.
There's a couple of plugins, but typically, if you have a drone on a gimbal, you shouldn't need.
Yeah, I agree. Typically, the stabilization comes in if you're flying FPV and you want a bit more additional stabilization on top. But yeah. Minut, our friend Minut from Engineer Drone Services says, Drone Maneuvers Mastery, is there a shortened free course? If you're part of the Part 107, it's free. It's part of your course, which I think you are. So as far as we have a 10 maneuvers course, but that's like showing you video maneuvers, video moves, cinematic moves, I think we call it. And that's free on the website. But no, we don't have a shortened version otherwise. William Aldridge says, what if any approval or waiver are recommended, if any, to fly within the airspace of the private 100 acres surrounding the National Forest, Angeles National Forest? There's no waiver needed to fly in a national forest. So as long as there is no additional airspace restriction because of airports and things like that, then you would not need to have additional approval. Go to the UAS facility map that Jason shared earlier, and then you'll be able to see the restrictions there. Shigertark says, can I fly around a crowd and not above it? Yes. That's what we actually recommend. I think it's a lot easier to, from a regulatory perspective, to do that. So yeah, absolutely. The DJI Hobby Guy Gray says, how about 400 feet in class golf airspace when I'm flying? I have 400 feet to the building. Then I'm trying to go over, being that I'm in class golf. I cannot do that. Yes, you can. So as long as you're flying under Part 107, that rule, that 400 rule that I mentioned, is not available to recreational pilots. It's only a Part 107 rule. It's 107.51 Delta, I think. And so you would be able to do that in class golf. Absolutely. Paul Donovan says, is the fact that remote ID is not available on the DJI Neo without an added module a hardware limitation or just a software decision? It's a software decision as far as I'm concerned. These drones are able to broadcast remote ID in other countries, but DJI does not do it here because they're not required to do so by law. Follow up, is there a vector to petition DJI to enable remote ID on Mini 4 drones when using the standard battery? They will not do that. They change that over time. It's actually changed over time. If you want to have yep. No, I'm trying to think which drone has it. The Mini 3 Pro has it regardless, but not the Mini 4 Pro, because there's no Mini 4 non-Pro. I know it's confusing, but no, DJI is not going to change it because they've decided that these drones are recreational drones. They're not professional drone, even though I know it has the professional sticker on it. But your best option is to just put a $20, $30 remote ID module on top of it to be compliant. Will FA 107 certificate have to take another test to have the 108 certificate? Well, here's the kicker. And Mark, I recommend that you go watch the video when we're done here. But there is no certification required to operate under Part 108. And I know it sounds crazy, but Part 107 and Part 108 are not related in any way, shape, or form. Part 108, because it is for autonomous drones, then it does not require a pilot. I know, again, it sounds crazy, but there's going to be a supervisor. These flights are going to be are expected to be flying autonomously on their own, make decisions on their own, including avoiding other aircraft, going to a location on their own, and only the human would be able to do very basic command. called Simplified User Interface, SUI. So they wouldn't even have a joystick, they wouldn't have a controller. All they would have is a touchscreen with buttons where they can do very basic commands. Hence why the FAA does not want to have a remote pilot in command in that position, because they're not. The drone is controlling itself. I know it sounds very futuristic. I still believe it sounds very futuristic. I still am shocked that the FAA allowed for this. Very avant-garde of the FAA, I think. But yeah, take it as it is. Oren says, what do you recommend using when changing between NDs? Sometimes I have the little dot of dust inside of it and it's hard to get. Get one of these little like turkey baster bowl. Yeah. It's like a little air that you can use to just push. You can try to like blow on it, but you risk like spitting on it possibly. So yeah, we just use a little turkey baster ball to pump air out of it. That's what I would recommend. Also, I recommend putting the lens down when you remove the filter and then putting the other one on rather than up. Oh, you have one? Perfect. Amy to the rescue. Like that. Yeah, just like that. Little turkey baster. Here.
Make the sound.
I did. Go take care of the turkey. It's drying. Surf in the City Waikiki says, what is the best app to see drones nearby? I used Drone Scanner app before and it worked, but nah, it doesn't work. That's the one I would recommend. So I don't know. I'm not sure. That's the one that we use. Do you think that drone pilots need the full amount of knowledge as a small aircraft pilot to do real estate photography? Or do you think it should be easier to obtain in Part 107? Well, your Part 107, let's be clear, is not anywhere near the full amount of knowledge as a small aircraft pilot. So I think Part 107 is the bare minimum of what you should know. Personally, I would add a couple things to it and remove a couple things, but that's besides the point here. But it is not the same amount as a small aircraft pilot. For example, our private pilot course is 35 hours of knowledge. The Part 107 course is half of that, 17 hours. Lou from Drone Angle says, what's the best way to handle DJI batteries recharging when I have 45% left? Does it hurt to recharge them at that level every time? I hate taking off with less than 90 or 100%. I mean, it definitely doesn't hurt to have them at that level. So I'm not sure I understand the question necessarily, but I would not hesitate to put it on the charger at that level and get it recharged. I would not go probably below 20% on these batteries to like 0. We've done it on some for testing, but I don't recommend it. Aviano says, will you put out a deep dive video on the Matrice 4T? Yes, still having trouble with the new LMS ordering of videos. This hasn't been fixed yet. I'm not sure what you're talking about with the ordering of videos. They should all be ordered correctly. You're talking about the courses. As far as the Matrice 4T, where are we at with that?
It's done, Matt.
It's done?
The ordering of the LMS issue is from Jason.
Oh, to publish it. Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't know. I have to check on that. I haven't. I know what you're saying, Rob. It's an issue on our side for creating the course. I don't know where we're at. Maybe Jason can leave a comment telling us where we're at with that. Oh.
You read my comment on the comment. Yes, we're going to have the course. We're still having issues.
Oh, that was your comment, not his comment.
That's why there were all the stars.
Well, I don't know. People put stars. You should say, note from Jason. Sorry, Rob. I thought you left a comment. I was like, how does he know that? So it's an internal issue. I apologize. The Matrice 4T is not ready. Is ready. It's exported. It just needs to go into the new LMS. We're having an issue in the back end of the new LMS that we're trying to fix. Okay, that's the true answer. Okay. Whew. Drone Ranger says, I have enjoyed my DJI drone, Air 2 Mini. What now? any truly compelling replacement out there. I mean, that yellow drone that we talked about earlier, that's really the only replacement at the moment because it looks like it's a Mini 4. But nope. That's kind of been the thing that we've been screaming at everybody who keeps asking for a DJI ban, is that it's pointless. I read an amazing comment the other day from one of the agricultural association, and I apologize, I don't remember who they were, but the Spray Coalition of some sort. And in one of their responses to an NPRM recently, they wrote something that I thought was really made a lot of sense. And I wonder if I can find you the text real quick here, because it was just that good. They talked about the fact that banning DJI today, when we're worried that DJI would stop giving parts to the United States, is exactly the same thing. Essentially what they're saying is that, I can't find it, I apologize. What they're saying is basically that if we're worried that DJI at any time could ban the drones that we have in the airspace with either geo restriction or with whatever it is, then we should also be afraid that our government can ban the same drones, because it would have the exact same effect. Without a transition period, a proper transition period where we can have replacement drones, then we are shutting down the supply of drones to our public safety agencies and our first responders, our small businesses, our recreational pilots. So I thought that was very insightful. And yeah, there we are. Next up, I just got a hold of an Autel Light Plus. Any tips on mapping with it beyond Gaussian splat? No, I mean, it's a drone. I hate to say it that way, but it's just a drone. So you're going to have to figure out a way to do the pattern. I don't remember if the Light Plus has the ability to do like a grid pattern. I'm pretty sure it does, actually. We gave ours to someone and I never saw it again. So it was supposed to be a temporary help for one of our students, and then we never get it back. But anyways, Kevin Corns says, do you think that the FAA wrote the NPRM or a manufacturer wrote it so they won't have to change their system? It's a good question. I think they were, how am I going to say that? There were definitely a lot of influences from special interest groups into this NPRM, and which is the reason why it does not have a lot of avenues for recreational pilots and for the average Part 107 pilot. Is that by design? I believe so. Can that change? Yes, I believe so as well. I think with a proper campaign from you, all the users, to push for your comment, to push for a change, then I think we can get there. But just keep that in mind. Okay? It's only a proposal at the moment. Would the autonomous language cover flying an automated mapping mission where part of the mission is blocked from our view? Potentially, yes. But again, it's going to require an aircraft that is approved by the FAA. The way, I've had several meetings today where I talked about this. The way that I look at this is, remember how the FAA came up with operations over people rules a couple of years ago. And in that, they said, well, if you have a categorized drone, category 1, 2, 3, 4, then you can fly over people as long as you do the following. Well, we're pretty much back to this now, where the FAA says, well, if you have a drone that does X, Y, Z and has been approved with the declaration of compliance, then you'll be able to fly beyond visual line of sight. Now, I'm going to go back to my first example of flying over people. How long did we wait until we saw the first category 2 or 3 compliant drone. There was only one for a very long time, and it was a EB drone, and it was category 2 approved, and that's a drone that is used for mapping. But then nothing. And the only time that we got more of these drones was when AVSS, the parachute manufacturing company in Canada, was able to create a pathway for approving their parachutes to fly over people. So anyway, I'm saying all of this because with the proposed regulation now, we are going to be at the mercy of a manufacturer, several manufacturers, to come up with a model that is going to be released to the general public, if you want to call it that, in order to fly beyond visual line of sight. A lot of the companies right now that have been approved to do Part 135 operations, which is very much what this proposed 108 is right now, a lot of these companies are making their own drones. Think about delivery companies, for example. A lot of them are making their own drones. So if they get that model approved by the FAA, I don't believe that they're going to be selling that to a competitor that could eventually go and do this. It's kind of like a Formula One team that creates a car and then goes and sells it to the next team because it's very, very good car and it's been approved, and they're not going to go to the next team to sell them the car and say, hey, we'll give it to you so you can compete with us. Okay. So I believe that's where we are. I think there's going to be, as proposed right now, there's an issue with having these drones approved for all the operations. I don't believe it's necessary for all the operations. And so, yeah, that's where we are. I lost internet for a second here, but I think you guys are good to go. Roland Brian says Part 108 isn't... Hold on, I still need the internet here. Shit. Sorry. I'll fix this in the back end. Part 108 isn't actually active or out right now. Correct. It's only a proposal. It's only a proposal. I really want to make that clear. I've mentioned it multiple times, but there's still a chance for us to do whatever we need to do in order to make this changed. Okay. So far, only the NPRM with anticipation of Part 108 authority coming out maybe next year, or more likely 2027. Is this how you all understand it? Yes. I said that in the introduction to my video, is that I don't believe this will be out. Well, the FAA says it's going to be 8 months from October, from when this came out, is when they're coming out with the final ruling. That's what they're expecting. My guess is it's more of a year from October, so October of 2026, but more than likely towards the end of the year, so close to 2027. I can't connect to the internet anymore. I don't know why. So I'm going to have to follow on my phone next. No, it's just weird. Just gave me an error message again. I just got a new laptop. This is my old laptop. I just got a new laptop. It's like when you get a new car and you still have the old car starts to misbehave.
Are we going to get that laptop?
No. So, well, we'll see what happens. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. There's always something going on during these lives. It's working on my phone. All right. I'm going to continue. I still have a couple questions, but I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Oh, I know why. I messed it up. It's my fault. It's my fault because we have 5 access points in this building, and I cheat and I go into my admin login and I force my computer to go to a specific access point so I can have the fastest of internet. And it's currently set up to one that's on the opposite side of the building. So... shot myself in the foot.
Cheaters never prosper.
Yeah, but see, it's worked this whole time, which I'm really surprised now. I noticed that it was pretty low on the bars here. I only had 2 bars, but anyways. Except I can't read any of the comments right now. And I would have to go over there, connect, change the settings on my laptop, and then come back. But so anyways. So I won't see your comments if you're putting one in the chat. Jason will. Would Part 108 give agriculture drones greater range? Yes. Yes, it would. On the agricultural side, it increases the weight to 1,320 pounds, so it makes it so that you can fly very large drones. It removes Part 137 requirements. I'm going to say that with a little bit of caution. I'm 99% sure that's what we read. Also, it will allow you to have whatever area you want approved by the FAA, which means that, obviously the area of operation, the aircraft, all of that needs to be approved by the FAA, just like in a waiver. So you would be able to fly for sure further than you can at the moment. But again, this would have to be a fully autonomous mission, which again is probably fine for agricultural settings because that's how most of these drones are flown anyway. Whew. Can you fly over 400-foot AGL when you fly recreationally? No, you cannot. The only exception to this is very, 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 very small. If you fly at an AMA field that is approved for flying higher than that, but there's not a whole lot of them and you have to be at that field specifically, but otherwise, no. Is there any interest in attending the upcoming Commercial UAV Expo in a Brewfest meetup on Thursday at 4 p.m.? So the difficulty with Thursday night is that this is when we pack the booth and we head back to Prescott, and we have a limited amount of time to do that. They bring the whole thing. Typically it takes us from about 3 o'clock to about 7 o'clock to pack up the whole thing and then get on the road so that we can go home and be done. So Thursday are unfortunately pretty difficult, but I appreciate the invite, Richard. That's really nice. Man, especially at a brewery. Right after having worked for like 3 days, it would be nice. Skyride Adventures says, I have a sensing system issue that has been persistent. I get a return label from DJI to repair. Will I ever see my drone again? I mean, there is a chance that you will because they do some of these repairs. Where are you shipping it? Are you shipping it to the US or are you shipping it to outside the country? If you're shipping it to the US, you're good to go. Englishman in New Orleans says, I registered my DJI Mini 2 drone. In doing so, have I shot myself in the foot as the drone doesn't have remote ID? Am I now not be able to fly unless I have remote ID module? If you're flying recreationally, you can remove it. You can, even if you don't. Well, if you're flying recreationally, you did not need to register that drone. If you did, then yes, you would need to have remote ID. The good news is you can remove that registration you can remove that drone from your inventory on the FAA drone zone, at which point it would no longer be registered. Remove the sticker, you're good to go. Dat of 2 says, hello, how high are the chances DJI drones will be grounded for good if there is a DJI ban that goes into effect? I'm not worried about that. The current proposals that we see would only ban future models, which would mean that we would be left in the Stone Age of drones for the future until these bans are reverted, which means that you wouldn't be able to get an approved drone in a new DJI approved drone in the United States. So all future models would be reserved for the elite, the rest of the world. Any plan on Pilot Institute to make a centralized drone operator marketplace to offer drone jobs? We have talked about this. We have talked about it, and there are challenges. I don't know if I can go over all the details. There are challenges to doing this. The challenge is not so much in finding operators. We've got 20,000 people that we've trained now under Part 107. So that's not the challenge. The challenge is to get those customers on the platform to find you guys, and that's just one of the challenges. Shiger Tark says, is a dirt bike classified as a vehicle in Part 107? Yes. Anything that has wheels, I would say, is a vehicle. I think that's a fair definition, because even the FAA says somebody on a skateboard is technically a vehicle. Somebody in a train is a vehicle. Somebody and actually not even wheels.
You
So,
said one team, a submarine
huh?
would be a moving vehicle. You said a submarine would be a moving vehicle at one point.
Yeah. Because a boat is a moving vehicle, a train is a moving vehicle, a bike is a moving vehicle. So it's not even just motorized. It's, yeah. Yes, an old dirt bike would be a dirt bike, not old. I think I may have missed the answer, but is there a way to automate RTL drones that aren't RTK like Litchi? Depends on the model. Depends on the model. But yes, more than likely. How does this 108 affect mapping missions that are automated? There is an avenue for mapping missions in there. Again, you would have to have a drone that is compliant in order to do this. We found another weird nugget in here that would make pretty much every drone in existence right now not compliant with Part 108 unless they were flown under a very sparsely populated area. So let me explain. The FAA is coming up with 5 new categories of population density, and these categories are designed so that the more population density there is, the more restrictions there are to fly in that area. With category 1, there's very little restriction. It's to basically fly 50 feet away from any users that are not related to the flight. Fine. As soon as you hit category 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, because every subsequent category carries the previous category limitations. So category 2 to 5, you would have to have a drone, a transmitter, a C2 controller that transmits on the newly approved bands of radio frequency, not the good old 2.4, 5.8, 5.4 gigahertz, 5.2, sorry, 2.4, 5.2, 5.8 gigahertz. I think RTL uses some of that. You would not be able to fly a drone that uses these Wi-Fi bands. So it means that if you were to fly under proposed Part 108 as it is right now, you would need to have a new control link system inside your drone. So none of the DJI drones would be good. None of the Skydio drones would be good. None of the drones that are currently out there, unless they have switched to the new frequencies or they're planning on switching to the new frequencies, none of these drones would be able to fly over anything other than a category 1 population density. And that's a big if. That's actually a big limitation. Whew. Embrace the adventure. What would you add to Part 107 to make it better? There is a couple things that I would want to see in there. More operational things that are related to how people actually fly these drones. I would love to have more time talking about LANs, which is not required technically. It's not tested how you use LANs, and a few other topics, but I want to keep going because we're almost done here. Is there a refresher course for renewing the Part 107 after 2 years? There is one on the FAA website. It's free. That's where you do your currency, actually. It's called ALC 677. Type that into faasafety.gov. What are your thoughts on certain large manufacturers not attending CUAV? I have only seen one that is not attending. I mean, I can say who it is. I don't think it's a secret. Skydio is not attending Commercial UAV Expo, but also Skydio is not Commercial UAV Expo. Skydio is not going after the commercial market anymore. They pulled back from that market a while back. They're mostly focused on public safety at the moment. So that would be my guess why they're not attending that conference. They were not, as far as I'm concerned, at the AUVSI conference either. So I don't know if they're pulling back on these conferences just because they're expensive and they're not finding their customers at these places. Can you give a link or info where we can contact the FAA about new rules coming? there's no real contacting the FAA about this. There is a page where you can submit your comment. That's on the Federal Register. We'll have a full video explaining how to do that. But otherwise, there's a document that you can download, which is the NPRM, the Notice of Proposed Rulemaking. And then you can read it, or you can watch the video that we did. But that's really the only way. You can't really contact the FAA. The only way to contact is to leave a comment on that document. I'm seriously considering taking the Part 107 course. I'm wondering if there is a time limit to complete. Nope, no time limit. You have lifetime access, and you get to see all the videos out there. Okay, let's see if I can. Where are we at? So, what in the world? I'm not connected to the internet, but all my bubbles have been checked off here. Oh, you've been doing it. Okay. So I'm like, how does that work? Okay. Thank you, Amy. Will recreational users be able to fly BVLOS using under 249 grams drone? Not as currently proposed. I think you probably heard me talk about the approval of drones to fly under recreational rules. That's the only way that you'd be able to do it. So the answer is no at the moment. There's no 249 doesn't really come into play in there. It's autonomous or that's it. Shiger Tark says, is there a resource for example waiver applications, tips on how to write one? We have a waiver course. I hate to send you to a paid resource, but we do have a waiver course where we have tips on how to write them. It depends on the type of waiver that you're trying to submit. And yeah, it's a bit of a process. Let's put it this way. Embrace the Adventure says, what specific changes would you recommend to be made to the proposed Part 108 for Part 107 pilots to fly BVLOS, weight, distance, etc.? We are working on that solution. That's what we did all afternoon and most of the morning. I'm not going to tell you just right now because it's not fully refined, but I think we are making good strides to be able to propose a solution that would allow current Part 107 operators to fly BVLOS manually under Part 108, if that makes sense. Okay, Boomer says, will I need a Part 108 waiver if my Part 107 drone flies a mapping mission autonomously while I lose VLOS occasionally? Yes, you would. It's not a Part 108 waiver. Let's make that clear. It would be a Part 108 approval, mostly a permit, they call it. But if you lose the drone VLOS occasionally, I would find a way to not lose the drone VLOS occasionally and bypass all of that because it's not going to be easy. Carl Miller says, what about Heelys? I don't know what Heelys is. Carl, tell me more.
Heelys are the shoes with wheels on them.
Oh, is that what they are?
Yeah.
Why is he asking? Was I talking about shoes earlier?
Moving vehicles.
Oh, moving vehicles. Okay, sorry. A little bit delayed. My brain had moved on. It would be a person, so you'd still have restrictions, but I don't know. It's a good question. But there's no vehicle. I mean, the shoes the vehicle? Let me ask the FAA.
Roller skates.
They have nothing else to do right now anyway, so we might as well ask the FAA. Roller skates. See that's there's a fine line here between Heelys and that. I don't know. Kyle, always with the tough questions. I'm getting into drones. I'll be working on making my way to try and do real estate insurance. Will I be able to just get the 107 or the 108 or both? So let's be clear again. The Part 108 is not a certification, so it's going to be for as proposed. I'm going to have to say that because that could change. As proposed right now, it is only for autonomous flights beyond visual line of sight. So Part 107 is proposed to be only for visual line of sight, Part 108 for beyond visual line of sight. Autonomous only. What we're going to propose is to make it non-autonomous and autonomous. How will this affect someone that lives on 25 acres? Is it still more of a city thing? At the moment, it doesn't really matter if you are on 25 acres or in the middle of the city. You still cannot fly beyond visual line of sight unless you have all of that. And yes, John, horses are vehicles. He knows who he is. He just texted me. Does Pilot Institute have any continuing 107 educational classes? Yeah, we have a ton. We have a ton of classes for beyond Part 107, if that's what you're looking for. We have our 107 course, which is kept up to date. Yeah. Do you think Chinese component restrictions or potential bans can extend to package delivery drones? It depends on what the manufacturer of these drones are doing. If they are using Chinese components, then in the future there could be potential bans related to that. So, Cloud Camper, tell us about the hat. Are you losing your hair? I am not losing my hair. It's getting gray for sure. No, well, I don't even know if I should talk about this, but anyways, when I get in the morning, I go swim every morning. And when I come out of the pool, I don't want to do my hair. So I look at the schedule and see if I'm on the schedule for recording. If I'm on the schedule for recording, then I typically do an attempt to do my hair. Otherwise, I put a hat on and then I don't have to worry about my hair, especially as it's getting long right now. So, except today, I somewhat forgot that I was recording. So instead of going into the bathroom and doing my hair after wearing my hat all day, you get to see me with my hat.
That's a good hat. What does your hat say?
My hat says, I don't know, what does that one say? Diamond, just like me. Diamond in the rough. That's a cool hat. That's Diamond Aircraft. That's the aircraft that manufactures our airplane. Made in China. Well, owned by China. Daniel says, my early question about a zero grid outside of Class C airspace is specifically where zero gets to the west of the flight path. Yeah, so I'm guessing you're right at the edge. So if you're right at the edge of the Class E, where the Class E ends, if it's, the circle, if you're outside of the circle, you're not in controlled airspace anymore, even though there might be a bit of a square in there. The FAA did squares for Lance approval. The FAA, the same FAA, also did round airspace. Squares and rounds typically don't shape up to be the same. And so there is always a little bit of the square at the edge of the circle. Basic shapes from kindergarten. And the FAA failed at that. I'm just kidding. Daniel, my early question about a zero. Okay, I just said that. The handy ham says, and we're almost at the end of the show, would a waypoint system in your drone qualify as autonomous? The mission would qualify as autonomous, but your aircraft would have to be equipped with some sort of equipment to detect and avoid, depending on where you're flying. So there's these three concepts of detect and avoid, let me get my notes real quick. Sorry, there's some terms that I still haven't memorized fully, and it's 5 o'clock here, so my brain is not working, but I have a cool set of notes that has everything in it here. Detect and avoid, strategic deconfliction, and conformance monitoring. All of these would have a role to play in your aircraft detecting and telling the operator on the ground what they're doing. And by the way, one thing that I haven't mentioned all night is that I talked about the aircraft needing to be approved. I talked about the area of operation needing to be approved. The one thing I didn't mention is that the fact you would need to have an operator, you would need to have people that supervise these drones. Operation supervisor is the correct term here, that would supervise these drones as they're flying around. So it would be it's more than just saying, my DJI is here, it takes off, and then it goes do the mission. That's technically an autonomous flight. What they're envisioning here is far more complex. Some of the meetings I had today, we talked about how this is kind of an enterprise level regulation that really only affects what I'm going to call the less than 1% of the operators out there. The high-end enterprise users that do repeated missions beyond visual line of sight represent a tiny, tiny, tiny little portion of the UAS operators out there. The majority are recreational users. at large by far, followed by Part 107 operators. And that to me is 99% of all activities going on out there. The rest of it shares the last 1% of the operations. That 1% is who that rule is currently proposed to be for. And I think we need to change that. So that's what we're going to be working on. I know it's 5 o'clock. It's time to go, but I appreciate you coming in as always. And we'll be back next week. We'll be here. We'll have even more information. Like I said, we're going to continue working on the plan. We're hoping to get that video out before we go to Commercial UAV Expo. Hoping to get that video out for you guys to explain how to submit your comments. Maybe we'll wait for right after Commercial UAV Expo because we have a couple presentations out there. And I'm going to be talking to a couple more people as well when we get there. So maybe that is a good time to submit it right after we come back. We can tighten up all of that language, talk to a few folks to see if that proposal actually makes sense, and then share it with all of you. So I think Ben gives me the thumbs up because he doesn't want to be rushed to edit it in 2 days like we just did this last video. But yeah, kudos to the team. They did a great job at getting this video out on time. It looks beautiful. And if you haven't watched it, make sure you go do that now. It's on the channel. It's Part 108 Explained. And that's it. Come back next week for more questions. We'll be here. In the meantime, don't be that guy. Fly within visual line of sight, as always. And we'll see you then.